All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again so much for tuning in to this show. This is Speak to the Mic, the unfiltered, unapologetic, uncensored podcast. I am your host, Marlon Joseph, here to discuss with you the very issues that plague our communities on an everyday basis, creating content and providing information to our communities that we can actually apply and help advance us as a culture and as a community, and acknowledging those Black men and women on an everyday basis who are making a difference and immediate impacts in the Black community as it pertains to our everyday life. And without further ado, I want to make, before I even go into introducing my panel today, which is a full house, I really appreciate every last one of you all for being on this show for this particular episode to really unpack some very issues that we have to talk more about, right? And I want to help start this conversation because it's going to be an ongoing one for sure. And but before I go in any further than that, I want to say, put this disclaimer out that we are Black men and women and are in no way representing our organizations as spokesmen or women for our organizations, but we are members of our organizations, proud members of our organizations, speaking on behalf of ourselves and just giving our perspectives and experience as it pertains to what we want to see more and what we have been involved in thus far. So with that being said, I want to make sure I go in the right Greek alphabetic order when it comes to the founding of our organizations and when it comes to introducing my panel guests for today. Mark Anthony, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Kimberly Stovall is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Noel Rock, a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Waiting on 3 other members to join us, but I can just skip past them for the moment and go on. Let's see who we have here on the show today. Okay, we have also Correll Oglesby, who is a member of Zeta Phi Beta, I'm sorry, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. I'm sorry, I apologize. Yes, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Yes, I saw the blue and I got mistaken for that. Denise Doss is a member of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And my boy Pascal Cook, who is a member of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. As the other 3 members of our Divine Nine enters the episode and joins us momentarily, I want to just thank you all again for taking this time to be on the show with me and definitely give your insight and perspective on what we would like to talk about for this particular episode.
You forgot Controlia.
Yes, I really did. I'm so sorry. I went see not having everybody on the call in the right time actually throws me completely off because I already had it in my mind exactly when everyone was founded. So yes, let me make sure I be clear about this with this introduction. So Katria LaSure is a very good friend of mine, and she also is a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So I want to make sure I give you your flowers, and each and every one of you all your flowers for what you do on an everyday basis. And again, thank you all for joining this show. So I guess we can dive right into it, you all. Again, thanks for being on here, taking the time to discuss these issues. So my first question, I want to start off, Mark, with you. So in the wake of us seeing something very unhistoric, if you will, traditionally speaking, when you think about the 244 vice presidents that have been elected into the vice presidency, us seeing the first woman and the first Black woman be a member, not only a Howard University graduate, a HBCU graduate, of course, but also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. To see her in that seat as the most powerful woman in the world, holding the second most powerful seat in the world, what precedents would you say that has set for representation when it comes to Black men and women who are political figures from our organizations?
Hey, Marlon. First, thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. Happy to be here with everyone. Hello, everybody. I am traveling today, hence why I look like I am from Men in Black. But
Hope you
I'm
stay
happy to be
safe,
here.
brother. Hope you staying safe, man.
Huh? Yeah. Um, so to your question, man, I think that having a member of first HBCU and a D9 as well, in a seat that is, in my opinion, probably more powerful in some sense. Um, in some regard, I think that lends itself to showing the world that Black men and women do have the capability to do whatever we put our minds to if given the opportunity. And I think that being in that position, she really opens the doors for all the little Black boys and Black girls that have gone through this, world in this place of not being seen. And having to be 10 times better is a thing, but then you get to a place where you are 10 times better and it's still not enough. And I think it's very interesting that, first we have Barack Obama in the presidency, and now you have Kamala Harris as the VP. And the reality is, the treatment that they receive is not deemed anywhere near harmful as what we just had in the office previously, right? So they are treated as lackluster and beneath, where in fact, the smallest thing that's said on the opposite end recently would have put many of us in very precarious positions as a people, right? Which it did. And so I think that her strength of knowing that she had the power in this because she is the reason, and Stacey Abrams is the reason, and some other strong Black women are the reason why Joe Biden is in office. I think having that in the forefront, it goes to show that HBCUs, D9s, and the Black community is so strong that we produce leaders, whether they have to lead from behind the scenes or lead within in front of the scenes. We are what it means to be America. And although that's been tried to be stripped away from us so many times, countless times again, we are resilient and prove that we will stand, we will fight, and we will serve our world, right?
Yeah.
And I think her being in that seat, it really shows that the Black people as a race are not out to have vengeance on anybody. All we want to do is seek unity and to live a life that is the American dream. And that dream does not look the same as though the white picket fence dream that it once used to be. All you want to do now is just be free and to live and raise a family and to be represented or respected as a true human. And I think having her in that office really, I don't think it does much to a large degree for the other, the majority in a sense.
Yeah.
But I think it does a lot for us as a Black people to know that regardless of what people say, if you put your mind to something and you believe in yourself and the people that are in your community believe in you and you know that you have that, there's no reason to seek anything else because when we come together as a people and we stick together as a people, we have some strong power within us, man. So I think her being there really represents that for us and serves as a reminder.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you know what? And even in the wake of that, so representation matters, right? And in the society that we live in today, symbolic gestures also matter. So to have her as a symbol per se, obviously she's not the first, political figure who was also a member of one of our Divine Nine organizations, but and she understands that, and she's been able to even accredit the very shoulders and backs that she's standing on today for her to even get to this point, right? So it took a lot of our men and women who, in yesteryear were out here fighting and advocating for us to have equal rights and things of that nature. And even from a political standpoint, being in that position does oftentimes see us in a negative light most of the time, because even as a Black woman, for her, she's getting deemed as, oh, she's too ambitious, she's too negative, she's too this, too that, when we have to still be politically and professionally, our attitudes have to still be up to par, right? We can't just tell people off, we can't cuss at them like the way we really want to, because I can almost tell in some cases, looking at her and thinking about what she could be possibly thinking when it comes to responding to some of the rhetoric that's being thrown her way. The fact that she still holds her reputation and her image at an all-time high says a lot about how we as Black people are to basically do the same thing, right? We're being asked to do so much, but yet we get very little credit for it and recognition for it. So for us to give her
Agreed.
recognition and even shed some light on how she understands the way has been paid for her to get here, I appreciate her for even highlighting that too. And
I think that's a great point, and a great response from you, Mr. Anthony. I'm an advocate for children. So we have to look in terms of what that do to our Black children, what
Yes.
is happening today that we didn't see when we were younger.
Yep.
To see someone have that much power or in power that look like them, oh, the sky's the limit in their heads or in their imagination. So it shows them that they can do it, and the being that the role has been paid for them, they can actually be put in those positions. It gives that self-confidence. So it helps them with a confident booster to see someone looks like them is halfway ruling the world. So I think with her and Mr. Obama, former President Obama, having that same platform at one time, I think it has been a confident booster for our kids. And I think that helps them in the long run with their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, Kim, to you,
I agree.
I want to direct this question, the same question to you as well, for just to talk about the very precedents that this particular moment has set for us, right? So to that point that you just made about our young Black girls seeing an image of what they could be ultimately, right? I have a daughter, and I'm raising my daughter to believe that no one can ever tell you what you can and cannot do. No man, no woman, no anyone. I don't care who it is. You set your mind on a goal and you execute that goal. You can do anything you want in life. And so for me to see that in my young daughter's eyes, to see a vice president who looks like her, I appreciate it from that standpoint. And I don't want to. I know we oftentimes fixate on the symbolic gestures and say, oh, well, you know, this person stands for this and this. We put so much pressure on that one person without understanding or even unpacking the very history that it took for that person to get there.
Right.
I also want to, sometimes talk about that a lot more too. But for you, Kim, what would
Well, Mullen, can I say one thing with that? I'm sorry. I had one piece to that because that was a very key point that you just said as well. I think a lot of times when others get into those offices, we give them a lot of leniency and we give a lot of forgiveness and we give a lot of, well, this wasn't meant, right? He didn't mean this. Or, okay, well, he said that, but he said, I apologize. One thing I definitely want people to remember as we have these conversations is that just because she's in that office does not make her perfect. Just because Barack Obama was in that office does not make it perfect.
Absolutely.
And so I feel a lot of times what we do is we hold them to this high esteem because they made it there, but then we don't allow them to be human. Absolutely. And I want us to be very conscious of the fact that she will be in that office and we won't like everything she does and we won't agree with everything she does. But the reality is that at the end of the day, the symbolism of it still is something for some child that will do the right thing one day too, right? And that doesn't mean she's going to do anything wrong, but it does mean that if she does, give her the same respect to say she's still a Black woman in a position and she has made it, whether you agree with what she's doing or not.
Absolutely. And even to that, right, this is the first one. This is the first woman and first Black woman in that position. So she's not going to get everything right the first time. But what it's going to do is it's going to set even more precedents for the next person or the next woman, next Black woman to take that stand after her and go even further. Same thing with Barack Obama too. He was the first Black president, but again, that's not even speaking about all of those young men and women who are aspiring to be presidents in their own right. So when that time comes for them, they'll be able to take what Barack Obama set out, that blueprint that he laid out, and then go even further with it, advance it to a point where now the next person after you have to go even further than that. So that would be the ultimate challenge for everybody taking that place after them. And so I do appreciate that, Mark, what you saying that. So Noel, I want to direct this to you too. And before I go to you with this question, James Butts, member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, thank you for joining us, brother. I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of delve in with us with this conversation. Noel, to you, what precedents for you did this moment set, with Kamala Harris being the first woman and first Black woman as Madam Vice President?
Firstly, again, thank you for the invitation to your forum. For me, good brother, I got to be honest with you. I kind of come from a different platform of thought in that it's a good moral and visual victory for us as a people, but I'm more focused on the work, like what's really going to happen for our people at this point now, right? My thing is, yes, she does have the connection being, first of all, Black, being a Black woman that not only comes from a Caribbean background, which I am also a part of that Caribbean community. She understands what it's like to grow up in certain neighborhoods, what it's like to live as a Black person, as a Black woman, right? But she also comes to that other side of the coin, being a political figure. Now, me personally, I'm not a fan of either either of the two top political parties, Republican or Democrat. And I say that because us as Black folks, we have leaned on the Democratic Party for a number of years.
Yep.
And I still think that we're in a position where nothing has really changed for us, right?
Absolutely.
So this is really a chance for her to really show us, hey, I'm really in it for the work, not for the accolades, not for me to throw up, the AKA Pinky and wear Chucks and say that I'm down with y'all, but not really changing anything for us.
Absolutely.
Now it's really a platform for her to say, look, we have some real issues in the Black community that I myself am going to address and
Yep.
I'm going to look to fix in the next 4 years. It's not about, for me, again, it's a visual victory because, again, like Kim said, when young Black men and young Black women see her in that platform, they can aspire to be the same thing or even greater, right?
Yep.
But we don't want to have the same discussion 4 years later, like, yeah, it was cool to have her in there, but what did she really do?
Absolutely.
So again, I'm more focused on what will her work be toward the Black community that she is so associated with.
Yep.
I mean, that's my main thing. Again, visual victory, moral victory,
Yep.
but I'm focused on the work. It's kind of like when you bring in a new line of Noops or a new line of SGROs, whatever it is. Yeah, it's cool visually. Okay, you brought a new line, you got 13 new members,
Absolutely.
but what are they going to really do for the organization? What are they going to do for the community? What are they going to do for themselves? You understand what I mean? So at the end of the day, I think that we have beaten a dead horse a lot of times with these political parties. We believed in one person and believe that they're going to change the world for us.
Yep.
And I still think that Black people are still anchored in a lot of ways. So again, I would love to see what her work is going to be in the next 4 years. That's my view.
Absolutely. You know what? And it's fair to even make that assessment, right? Especially given that, like I said before, we oftentimes get fixated on the symbolic gestures of just being placeholders, right? But also keeping in mind, too, we have to take into account that the very political assholes, if you will, that surround her does make her job a lot harder to get things done, right? Just same thing with Barack Obama, too. Mitch McConnell was on record saying that he purposely made shit hard for Barack to get shit done, preferably for our community, and laughed about it on Fox News. So those type of things have to also be taken into account for the very things that actually gets done versus the things that try to get done, but didn't have a chance to do so.
And I'll say this to you. Yes, there have been many roadblocks and stumbling blocks
Yep.
for people of our hue in those positions. Barack Obama obviously being the first example of that, and Kamala Harris is not going to be exempt from that, right?
Absolutely.
But making it hard does not make it impossible.
Absolutely.
That's my point. You understand?
Facts.
Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's impossible.
Right.
If she shows me that she's willing to do the work and she's pushing these agendas for us as a people,
Mhm.
but let's say that there's still roadblocks in the way and she doesn't get everything accomplished, I'll be satisfied with that.
Yep.
You understand? But don't tell us one thing. Don't show us a smoke screen and then behind closed doors, you're really about your own agenda. You understand? I think that we as a people have been burned. We've been burned too many times by these two main political parties. I personally think that we need to think more on an independent level, but I'm also about giving people a chance, right? So let's give the sister a chance and see what it is that she can really do. And not only that, I think it's our responsibility as her supporters to reach out to her and let her know what we think. But she also needs to extend that olive branch back out to us and say, hey, I need your help. So this is what I'm looking to do, or this is what I'm thinking of doing. How can y'all pitch in? How can y'all help? So it's kind of a two-way street in the way that I'm thinking. But again, I'm all about the work.
Absolutely, man. And that's the thing too, man. We have to help her help us, right? So the same thing with Barack Obama. We can't ask him to be the president of all Black people, right? That's not fair to him. And it's not fair to her to be the vice president of all Black people, because the fate of the culture can't fall on one person's shoulder. If we're not helping her help us, then we're doing a disservice to ourselves too. And so, and the responsibility falls on not just her, but for us too, to not let her know and inform her on what it is we need, because everybody don't know what everybody needs at what time and win, right? So that's a very insightful assessment that you brought up. So Patricia, I want to bring this to you too. So being a woman in a sorority, what precedents did it set for you to see this unfold, and being in the 2021 year that we're in, seeing a Black woman as a representation of us as a vice president?
First of all, just thank you again for inviting me to this forum. As a Black woman, I feel as though, first of all, her being a woman running for the office was an amazing thing. On top of it, you have to realize, dealing with our organization, years ago, Shirley Chisholm also tried to run as well, for the president's spot. But I feel as though that because of the fact that she was like a forerunner to like set it out for us to where, hey, we can do this. If I can do it, then anybody else can do it. And for Kamala to come and to be able to, represent for not only being a Black woman, not only being an HBCU student or a graduate, and not also only that, but also being a woman part of a Greek organization, that stood out a lot for me. And because of the fact of dealing, in the organization, we're all about, social action. We want to get people out there to, register to vote, spread the word. And I think, and Marlon, you can attest to this, when we was at Russ, I know my freshman year, one of the first things that they did for us freshman year was made us go register to vote. That was one of the first things that they made us do. And we had to walk from Russ all the way up to the multi-building to register to vote, and that sparked me to be able to say, hey, anything to better our community, I'm all for it. But the one thing that I dislike about, some of the things that are happening in the community and whatnot, we see that this woman is doing what she's, doing her best, but we have some of our folks, who just really don't care, and I see it on Facebook all the time where so many people like, okay, speaking of Obama, what has Obama done for the Black community? Trump has done more for our community than Obama did for the, I'm like, listen, y'all, you have to realize, just like what Noel was speaking about earlier, it's all about the work that needs to be done. Yep. And it's like some of us, we have our hand out all the time looking for someone to give us something, but what are we doing for our own community? That's the question. Yep. And so with Kamala, hopefully that was a motivation for everybody from every nationality to be able to do what needs to be done to bring us all together. Because dealing with this election, we've seen a lot of unity. I've seen things that I've never seen before in a long time. And even for older people, because, back then, even though, they fought for us, some people have died just, to be able to vote. Absolutely. And so for me to see this unity that has happened, dealing with the election, it sparked motivation for all of us. So for me to see the first Black woman to, be vice president, she has set in stone that, hey, if I can do it, anybody else can do it. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to, with the momentum that we have gained over this time period, right? We have to keep our foot on the gas pedal, and being monolithic is at an all-time high of importance right now. We have to be together in order to get real change, to really impact change and really get to see the change that we want to see in our community. So I really appreciate that from that standpoint. James, I'm gonna circle to you on this question too. As far as precedents, what did it mean for you to see a Black woman who obviously is a member of the Divine Nine as well, and a graduate of an HBCU, to be the vice president of the United States? You're on mute, James. I can't hear you. I think you're still on mute. Yeah. I think he's getting his microphone together. I still can't hear you. You can hear me? Yeah, I can't hear you. Yeah.
Maybe if I learn how to fix my
PC
stuff, if I learn how to fix my PC stuff and stop moving around, it wouldn't come out the plug probably.
No, you good, man. Technology is definitely something that everyone has been forced to have to get used to now, especially with the Zoom and
Right.
and all that good stuff. So
Right. I'm gonna blame it on the Kappa invite me to the meeting late, but yeah. Always trying to make the bros look bad. See?
All right. Listen, y'all do it to yourself, man. But we ain't gonna go there. We ain't gonna.
All right, but getting back to the topic, man. For me, it was definitely a heartwarming because my intent was to vote for her for president anyway. A lot of us are so cynical about um, people's quote unquote past in
Mhm.
their job.
Yep.
When we talk about her being the AG or the uh, prosecutor in California, I'm wondering sometimes what do we intend for Black prosecutors to do? Just ignore crimes that Black people commit? I mean,
Absolutely.
is that what we want to do? She put a whole bunch of Black people in jail. Hold up, how did Black people get to the court in the first place?
Yep.
But
Ability.
I'm a different thinker when it comes to that. I don't want to say a lot of us don't have critical thinking skills, but unfortunately a lot of us don't have critical thinking skills. But for me, like I said, it was very heartwarming to see her become the first Black female vice president. I'm hoping that she can ascend to the next level. But there's work to do on the lower end because what I've learned throughout my political career in terms of being active in politics since I was a kid. My grandparents, and my family worked with the mayor's office and served in the mayor's office throughout many years in my hometown of Gary, Indiana, where we had the second Black elected mayor in the nation, the Honorable Richard G. Hatcher back in the day, who had a 20-year run as the mayor pretty much of Gary, Indiana. But nonetheless, and we had the first Black female, if I'm not mistaken, in the House of Representatives, Honorable Miss Katie Hall. So I've been always active, so to speak, in politics. But where I was going with that is that things do not work from the top down. They work from the bottom up. I don't care what people, their desires of things to change starts right here.
Yep.
And nobody wants to be challenged to make a change. Because the hardest thing to get people to do is to change.
Yep.
And the more and more my people fight to change themselves,
yep.
the harder it's going to be for us as a community. Because I've always thought, I'm sure a lot of the people on this panel have heard of Gary, Indiana. Raise your hand if you have, and not just because of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I'm right down the street from Gary. So.
Okay, so the violence in Gary has been there since I left in 1988.
Yeah.
Before that, so I've always thought that, for example, from an educational standpoint, that, and no disrespect to the wonderful ladies that are on the panel, but there is something to wholeheartedly respect and stand at attention when there is a Black male educator in the building.
Absolutely.
I don't care what anybody says. Like I said, no disrespect to the ladies that are on the panel. My love to you and respect to you all. But when it comes to our community, strong Black men who are forceful in their actions can clean up our own community. The Honorable President Barack Obama said the night he got elected, he stood right there in Grant Park and he said, I need your help. Yep. Politics are local, not federal. They're local. And how many of us are actually in the building when town hall meetings or city hall meetings are held? Well, I got to work. Well, nobody cares if you have to work. Community still has to get changed.
Yep.
It still has to get changed. So, maybe you should go 10 years without having children so that you can be active in the community. I don't know. I can't really say. My wife and I don't have children, so we can be a little bit more active. So I don't want to act like I don't understand and I'm not sensitive to their position. But the more people are there, the more change can happen when we're all unified, just like Georgia showed us.
Yep.
Just like the Honorable Stacey Abrams showed us.
Ooh, man.
Okay. I'm hoping that President Biden makes her a voting czar so we can change Texas, where me and my wife live now.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people are moving here from California and from other places, and it's getting closer and closer to turning purple. Because I'm sure, I don't know if everyone follows here, but remember, Texas used to be a 60% easy win, 60% or greater easy win from an electoral standpoint in terms of votes when it came to the national election. That joint was down to 55.
Yeah. And you know what?
I'm in Texas, brother. I'm in Texas, so I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Hey, Noel, I know you in Texas, bro, because you James Harden on the other side. But but he looked like James Harden. But yeah, I mean, you know, Texas is no longer a stronghold, and everything that's Democratic isn't right.
Absolutely.
But everything far right, blue, red isn't right either.
Yep.
So you know, I'm a centrist, and my wife is a centrist.
Yeah.
We're literally dead in the middle.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of work to be done. Yeah. Georgia showed that we can unify. If we can spread that energy nationwide, we can make serious change. And now is definitely the time,
yeah,
considering the atmosphere that is being driven from a diversity standpoint.
Yep.
Now is definitely the time. Now it's going to be difficult, because I don't know if anyone else has been paying attention to it, but probably since President Clinton's second term, when the U.S. Census Bureau started putting out that by 2024, there would be a significant change in the population demographic.
Absolutely.
And if you can remember back, there's been a lot of violence, you know, upticking, and it's gotten worse and worse, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse because they know that the jig is up.
Yep. And they are becoming the new minority, right? So
right.
I remember reading something interesting that said by 2036, Hispanics will be the new majority, right? So, but we as Black people, we're going to still be in the same damn position we've been in, which is 13.5% of the population in America, which
right.
says a whole lot about obviously us not reproducing, but more so about what it is that we're actually doing. So to your point of James about change, is that two things I know about change. One, it's very much so inevitable. And two, it's necessary. And if if you're not changing, and to think about being a plant, you looking at change from a perspective of like being a flower or a plant. If you're not growing, you're dead.
Right.
If you're not going to grow, if you're not going to evolve, if you're not going to change necessarily for the better, then you're already changing for the worse.
Right.
Staying the same is changing for the worse too. So those are two disadvantages that you're actually placing on yourself by not adapting to the very times that we live in today. And so that's why I always encourage people, the whole idea of being monolithic, especially as Black people. If we ain't got us, ain't nobody gonna have us. And we have to be very much so mindful of that moving forward in order to even see real change happen for us. And so James, I do appreciate that from that standpoint.
I appreciate what Mr. Bunn stated before when he stated that, you know, being respectful of a Black man, when he didn't want to give disrespect to the women. I agree with that.
Yeah.
And for change to happen with our community, it's going to have to change within our households.
Absolutely. Starts at home.
Because our Black men are dying. They're being killed in front of us. And we have to show that they're relevant in our community and in our household. I am proud to say my husband and I, they're all about one man, which is him. And I give him the utmost respect for that. When my husband is present, I am behind him. I'm doing what I need to do to help this Black man move along. And I think that needs to start in our household. And we need to find a way to make the Black household the most important part of the Black community to move our Black communities forward. I think we should start there first.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, Kim.
It starts there. Before it gets outside that house, we have to be instilling in our kids on an everyday basis the importance of not only making it home safe, but following the rules, but also making sure that you are representing us as a family to the utmost, right? You want to make sure you're representing yourself to the utmost. And you want to share the very positive light that we want to see in the world. We have to inflict that and bestow that in our own kids. So, Kim, I really appreciate you for sharing that. I want to go to you for this question, the same question as well as moving along. What presidents for you did seeing Kamala Harris be sworn in as vice president do?
To me, it said it let me know as a Black woman, there's nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
So I was happy to see that she's a Black woman, or I was happy to see that, because it lets me know that by her doing that, it's so much that I can do on my own. And also to show my children that when they get older, the sky's the limit for them. I have 3 girls.
Yep.
And we watched that moment together. I mean, although there's men in the house as well, but there was a moment for us, because I always try to show my children, especially my girls, that they don't have to look up to and no disrespect to the Cardi B's, the Nicki Minaj's, to women that like to show their bodies. I have no problems with that. That's how they make their money. However, also the Black reality shows that they're seeing today as well, that it appears that we don't know how to act. So I want to show my children that they don't have to act that way to move forward in this world. So that was a proud moment for me, and it set the president high to show my children, this is who you can aspire to be like. Your mom is trying. Although I may not be your role model, I would like to look at this person as being a role model for you as well. And also other powerful Black women. We're in powerful places these days. Yeah. And I'm just happy to see her holding that highest office as a woman, to show all these little Black children that it can be done. It's like can do. But back onto Mr. Noel's point as well, just because she's there's some things that needs to be done as well, and we have to hold her accountable for that, and also support her the same way, because I'm sure she's having a lot of backlash from a lot of different angles, but also we do need to let her know that we're important, and for her to push the agenda to help our communities as well.
Hey, Kim, if I may ask this question, you said, and I think I heard Noel say it as well. If I may, I'm sorry, Marlon. When because we hear this term a lot, accountable. Mm-hmm. In order for her to be accountable in her agenda, someone has to work that agenda.
Yep.
And it seems as though we want to put the entire plate at her chest, at her torso, for her to do everything. Yep. While we sit back and just wait to do this, to be cynical, to be critical, to be, what have you, and not put in any work.
James, it's equivalent to praying things away, right? It's very much so equivalent to the older folks who say, just pray and it'll go away. See, prayer without work is dead. If you're not doing the damn work, the prayer is going to fall on mute ears.
Mm-hmm. Again, so Marlon, it's interesting.
Everybody want to hear that, though. Everybody don't want to hear that.
Yeah, we have to help God out too. We have to help him out.
Right. So you guys were saying about the Black males and the visuals and being present and stuff. I think it's also important to note that a lot of our experiences are very different than our counterparts in our same community, right? Yep. And so while we have had the ability to go to college and to go to HBCUs and to have this D9 experience, some people will never have that, and that is something systemic that has come down throughout the years. Yep. So before we can really tackle that piece, we also have to be honest about the internal trauma that exists within the community that needs repair as well, right? And the therapy that our community as a whole needs to make these young men into whole beings as they go on and grow into these roles that we want them to be into, right? Yep. At the same time, when you talk about the work and responsibility that she does have a responsibility to the community that she leaned on to support her to get into the seat in which she is, right? Because that to a large degree is why she is there. But I think there's work to be done all around. So I don't think it's solely on her shoulders. I don't think it's solely on our shoulders. I think it has to be a happy medium somewhere where everybody is responsible for their part in the entire journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I want to get to Karel. Ms. Oglesby, let me ask you this question here. So there's 3 members of our Divine Nine that have been answered this question. I want to hear from them as well. Ms. Oglesby, what does it mean? Still in the microphone. You can mute your mic. Okay. Ms. Oglesby, for you, what does it mean for you to see this happen, right? What precedents did seeing Kamala Harris be sworn in as vice president mean for you?
may have to drop out and come back in because if she's on a phone, there's a lot of feedback on her phone.
Yeah.
Corel, if you can, drop off and drop back in.
Yeah. I'll come back to you. So, Miss Dawes, my sister, Denise, tell me something about this. So, what precedents did this set for you to see Kamala be sworn in?
I was proud to see her be sworn in.
Yeah.
I had my reservations. And the reason why I say that is great, we got a Black woman up there. It made me wonder, what could she do differently that Obama wasn't able to do? And he was the president. I think they're between a rock and a hard place, actually. And a lot of people here have already said that, we have to build this community. We have a lot of things in the Black community that if we don't change, it doesn't matter who's in office.
Absolutely.
And the reason why I say that, like one lady said, it starts with home.
Yep.
Well, our homes are broken.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. We have to figure out a way to fix these homes. There's nothing wrong with single mothers, but it would be better if they were 2-parent households.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm thinking of it more as, you have to build a foundation. Our foundation is cracked.
Very much so.
It was never built to be strong because we as a people don't understand all the components it takes to be able to build a strong foundation, because we fight amongst ourselves for simple things like resources.
Yep.
So if our kids are not eating, people are not thinking about voting.
Yep.
If our kids are not getting adequate health care, they're not thinking about voting. When you make $15 an hour and you can barely pay your rent, they're not thinking about that. Honestly, I'm proud, but at the same time, I don't think she's going to be able to do that much for our people, because our people are not invested in doing that much for themselves.
Absolutely. The number one law of nature is self-preservation. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, then we're not going to be much good to anybody else. So I do appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. And, I my background is sociology, social work, work with kids, work with people with disabilities. I've done it since I was like 15 and I'm 40 now. I've lived, my dad's in the military, so we traveled a lot. So I got to see a lot of things, lived overseas. And I'm gonna tell you something. When I lived overseas, I've always been a big person. I'm dark skinned. When I was overseas and I lived in Berlin and Frankfurt and all these places, it was never a problem with skin color.
Yeah.
When I came back to the United States, that was the first time I learned that I was too dark.
Mm-hmm.
And that I was too big.
Colorism is
very
problematic in our community.
Well, the reason why I say that is because once I came back, I went to military schools on base, things like that. The education is different.
Yeah.
It's more fast paced. You learn how to enunciate. You have to learn these things. You're taught to speak correctly. Okay. And when I came back to the States, I was in the 7th grade and they were trying to put me in high school, because of my knowledge. And I was so far past my peers. But my mom said no, because I was not mentally ready for something like that. And I'm going somewhere with this.
Yeah.
But right then, being in the 7th grade, I realized, being around my peers, that the education system is so broken. It was never designed for us.
Absolutely.
So if the education system, the healthcare system, all the systems that have been built in this country, if they weren't designed for Black people, where do we actually fit in? What do we need to do to be able to immerse ourselves in those programs and to be able to get what we need?
Yep.
I don't know when education was deemed to be uncool, as some of the kids will say.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of children that I've worked with personally who are embarrassed, young Black men that are embarrassed to show that they're intelligent.
Yeah.
And it's sad because you have to push so hard to just give them that esteem, to push that self-esteem up, to show them that, look, there's nothing wrong with the fact that you like math. There's nothing wrong with the fact that you like science. Let's do something with it.
Yep.
And it goes back to the households, because when you have people our age with the kids that are here now, because we're their parents, whether you have kids or not, somebody's watching you.
Absolutely.
And when we are not depicting what it is to be a strong Black man or woman, and we're out here and we're cussing and we're drinking and we're doing all this craziness, that's easy for them.
Yeah.
Well, why don't I just go do that? Because it seems like that's something that's way easier than, studying, going to school for 4 years to get a degree.
Yeah. And to that point, I do want to even acknowledge each and every one of you all for being graduates, being members of the Divine Nine. You all made the choice to, get your education further beyond high school. A lot of our family members or even friends in our neighborhoods couldn't say the same thing. And to the point that James brought up about how everyone, and Mark brought up as well, everyone is not capable of going to college. And college is not for everyone. And I understand that. But understanding that the obligation has fallen on each and every one of us who are members of these organizations, we have been put on the pedestal to a certain degree, right? We have been labeled as Black elites to a certain degree, and that of course comes with responsibilities and accountabilities that has to be had on all spectrums. So if we're not doing what we're supposed to do to help be the example for our local communities, then how can we even say we're doing a service from a community standpoint when it comes to taking that initiative and being role models for our young Black men and women? So I appreciate you saying that, Denise. Mr. Cook, I want to come to you about this same question. For you, what does it mean to have Kamala in the vice presidency seat?
I think I said this before when Barack Obama was elected. I think it's a great start.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I say start because Kamala Harris is the first Black female vice president. Barack Obama is the first Black male president. Yeah, well, the reason why I say it's a great start because when you look at the history of this country as it was founded, on the backs of Black people.
Yeah.
I won't, and even when it does happen, there still has to be a level of accountability, as I said. But I'm waiting for the Trayshawns.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the Shaquille. I'm waiting for to be in these offices. Because I don't want to go into the difference between Blacks, difference between who are descendants of slavery, but to me, it's a great start. But it sounds a bit different when you're speaking about a direct descendant from slavery to actually lead a country in which have enslaved and prosecuted and the word I'm looking for escapes him right now, but the people who made this country economically, industrially, when you have a direct descendant of that, I want to see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I take no, and this is not to take away anybody's Blackness.
Yeah.
But I want to see that happen. but I think this is a great start. I think just having that office filled with someone of color, with a Black individual, I think is great. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: different shades of black, right? So, we were the first civilizations known to man on this planet, right? So, in that sense, every creature living, every human being living has black in them, right? So, I want to. I oftentimes want to be careful when I even talk about different pigmentations and skin colors or origins, things of that nature, because then now it's a slippery slope to say, okay, this person is not black enough versus oh, that person is, right? So I want to make sure that we understand that as long as you are, part of you is from, like, mind you, I think her mother is of Indian descent and her father was Black. So as long as you have
Jamaican.
Jamaican. So as long as you have Black in you, you are Black. As long as you are a descendant from Africa, you are African, right? So we oftentimes get too caught up and fixated on going back and forth about, oh, he and she is not Black enough versus me and my Blackness. Like, listen, the biggest problem with us as Black people is that we're fighting too many damn fights and ain't winning none of them. We're not winning.
Mhm.
We're fighting amongst ourselves. We're fighting amongst each other. And we're fighting the damn institutions and the systemic racism that plagues our community on an everyday basis. Can we win one damn fight first and then move on to the next? We can't keep fighting this fight with each other all the damn time, nitpicking on little, very minute situations that really don't hold that much weight when it comes to the bigger picture, right? So holistically, we have to focus more on what the work that needs to be done needs to be talked about versus the little things that can, we can kind of bypass and forget about and discuss at a later date. Before you all chime in, because Ms. Oglesby hadn't had her chance to even chime in on this question. I want to know from you, first off, I want to make sure your mic is okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Good.
Ooh,
Awesome.
she went and got a new phone. Praise Jesus.
All right. Who did?
Come on, Fred. Come on. Wait a
I'm
minute.
sorry. I'm sorry, Sora. I
Wait
was
a
cheering.
minute.
I was cheering for you. I was about to send one FedEx within an hour to your house.
See that? This is why we're Divine Nine family, right? We're gonna try to help each other out the best way we can through this technology stuff. So, yeah, Ms. Oglesby, for you, what does it mean to see this? What precedents did this very moment set for you?
For me, it was huge. My entire family, we sat down. I cried. Not because it was a historical moment. I am 42 years old and my mother is 62, and her mother, had she lived, probably would have been a certain age. My other grandmother was watching and she's alive and she's 87. And for me, that was historical, right? I agree with what everyone said. There is work to be done. Biggest, most foremost is it starts at home. Yep. I'm sure, and I can't say I'm sure, but I know most organizations have auxiliary groups for their children where they get them involved and we teach them community service and what it is to give. How many of our children are even in these programs, but then all of a sudden they turn 18 and now we want them to go to college and now we want them to do this. It starts at home. Bring them into there. I mean, you put them in Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. Why not, boy, girl auxiliary group of whatever your Divine Nine is or whatever that is. It starts at home. Secondly, we have got to, on a local community, realize that politics starts here. Yep. So if you are not voting for your local, whatever, your school board, it starts there. I've got 2 children. I'm in multiple organizations. My husband is in multiple organizations. Can we do all the things? Nope.
No, we can't.
But I'm gonna do what I can where I can. And I think that's the problem. We are not doing what we can where we can. We want to talk, but then when it comes to, hey, can you at least pass this voter registration card out? Can you at least donate $20 to so-and-so's college fund? Oh, I don't have it, or I can't do it, or this, that, and the other. Yeah, you can. Don't go to McDonald's that day. Or while you're driving down the street and you're headed to Walmart, hey, let me pull over and we're going to do so-and-so and so-and-so. Whatever it is sometimes it is the smallest things that over time build up. And if everyone is doing it bit by bit, little by little, we can create our, that utopia that we're looking for. Like everyone says, we're looking for the American dream because we don't have it. We don't own land. We don't have small businesses. We have horrible schools. But instead of us saying, let me volunteer to read at my child's school, or let me start that business that I've been saying, oh, I'm gonna start a business. I'm gonna write a book, whatever it is. We are the ones that people are looking at. And I'm not saying divine nine, period. I'm just talking about those that aspire but don't do.
Yeah, absolutely. And in no way possible am I saying that the responsibility falls at the foot of our organizations, right? Because it's so many different Black organizations. You got the National Black Caucus, NAACP,
100 Black women and men,
Black
Links.
women.
We have all of these groups.
Big Brother and Big Sister organization. So again, I'm just really speaking about I want to unpack the very thing that we need to be talking about more consistently is about what can we be doing together consistently, being monolithic and understanding what our roles and parts are, because each and every one of us have a part to play. And if we're not playing our part, then we're holding back the very thing that we're trying to see happen for our community. And because we are products of these Black communities, we are members of the Black community, and we're part of a Black Greek-led organization. That the two are synonymous, right? So, and with that being said, the very community service initiatives are to service the community. And if we're not getting feedback from the community as to what they need, then how can we truly say we're really servicing them, right? So from that standpoint, I do appreciate you sharing insight on that. So,
if I could, I just wanted to say something else to the point I was trying to make. And again, this is not to disparage anybody's Blackness. What I mean when I was saying earlier was that it's a different conversation that you have with a Black person that is not a descendant of slavery, right? Because when you look at the trade, the Black people that were produced from that has been stripped away from their culture, stripped away from what they knew, right? And placed into another entirely different scenario from which they were born. So when you look at the history of culture of like being brought up from just being a Black person, and then you switch the views from a person that is a direct descendant of slavery, it's a different conversation. And that's what I meant by when I said I'm waiting for the descendants of slavery to fill these offices. Barack Obama is Kenyan, right? He has Kenyan background. Kamala Harris has a Jamaican background. And I say that because the culture in which they both were raised were different from the way that I was raised, right? And when I say that, I'm saying that, as a direct descendant of slavery, when will we have those cultures and those values instilled in us growing up? That is different from what we see from other individuals that have grown up in household. I work as a clinical therapist, right? And I work with individuals who are court appointed and everything. And this is just for Black people in general, there's not enough talk about mental health in our community.
Absolutely.
But it's a bit easier in other communities. And so that's what I mean where, when will we get that same type of cultural background and upbringing that someone who is not a direct descendant of slavery has, into which we see it in ourselves that, I can do this, so that's what I meant by that.
So, can I say something?
I want to say two quick things to Mr. Cook about that. So one, we obviously know that representation matters, right? And so the two things that both Barack and Kamala Harris share with us is that they come from humble beginnings, right? They don't come from money. They don't come from privileged backgrounds, right? They had to work their way to the top to get to where they are, just as well as any one of us that have done the same thing, right? So they obviously got a chance to fight for Kamala. To be an alumni of a HBCU means a lot to me because I'm a HBCU alum, right? Russ College. A few of us are from Russ College, and we are alums, including yourself, Pascal. So for us to see that, because oftentimes HBCUs don't get enough acknowledgement and recognition for the very production that we actually have out here in the world, that are making a difference in our communities or just in society in general. So to see that, to see Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, who was from an HBCU, Stacey Abrams was from an HBCU, and Kamala Harris too. So these,
and her name is Keisha.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know what I'm saying? That's representation, right? So that matters to see a woman from our community graduating from an HBCU, just like we did, and with her being a member of Delta Sigma Theta too, Keisha Lance Bottoms. That says something about the representation that we very much so want to see more of, you know, in the near future. So I do appreciate that. And then, you know, my last point to that is that if we're able to even identify, right, to your point about the Trayvons and the Keishas and Tamikas, right? We're getting to see more of that in other political figures, right? So in the House and in Senate and Congress, things of that nature, they're obviously being elected in these positions and possibly have aspirations to become president or vice president. Who knows?
Also,
you know, so that again sets precedence for the very thing Kamala Harris has been able to basically benefit from at this present moment. So I want to circle back. Kim, for you, this is my next question. I want to make sure I'm sensitive on time for everybody. So I want to give everybody a quick moment to kind of chime in on this question. For you, because Kamala Harris has been on record accrediting a lot of her leadership skills to her organization, to Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. For you, how has your organization helped you from a leadership standpoint be able to apply that to your professional life?
Well, I'm a social worker as well. Well, my background is in social work. Okay. So I did graduate from Russ College in 2005, and also from the University of Memphis in 2017 with a master's of social work. So I have now moved my career from social work to human resources. And so I'm kind of climbing that ladder of being, it actually was a promotion. So I moved from working with families and children to actually working with employees to assist with, you know, helping principals discipline their employees or come up with different plans of helping them to change the culture inside of their schools. Yeah. So that has helped me along the way because I've always seen women in higher places. So it has helped boost the confidence for me as well, and also has let me know that the sky's the limit. Yeah. So I'm not afraid to go into different areas and different jobs to apply for things that I may have once said that I don't qualify for. So moving from social work to human resources can be kind of difficult. However, I have transferable skills and I have to show that I have that in order to move into a different career. And I'm going to try my best to move that together so that I can one day create my own nonprofit to assist with helping children. So by me doing that, I have the skills of social work along with the skills of human resources. So that way, and my husband has an MBA, so he knows how to run a business. And we're going to bring that together and come up, and we're going to have a business for our family, something we can give to our children later on in life. So that's what it has helped me done, to just see people in high places, as well as seeing how the sorority helps communities and people of all mankind. And it shows me that I can one day do that. And it assists me with bringing these plans together to move forward so that I can.
Yeah, and I appreciate that too. We need to see more of that, of us, you know, combining our the very fervor that makes us, you know, in the professional realm, right? We want to make sure that we're obviously taking that professional that leadership skills that we learned from our organizations and applying it to our professional realm, and being able to combine the two, and thereafter, you know, creating our own business plans, or even just, you know, collaborating with other people or other organizations. I do appreciate you sharing that. Let me see. I'm going to go to Contrell. Let me ask you this question. So how has your organization, the very leadership skills that you've learned from your organization, how has that been able to help you professionally in your professional life?
Well, I feel as though that for one, I've always been a shy person. So being able to speak, being an orator has been like one of my biggest issues. But within my organization, they taught me that pretty much, I can pretty much do whatever I want to do if I put my mind to it. And it got to the point that even though I was one of the youngest, because I crossed 2017, even though I'm still a newbie. We have Delta Deers that are there to help us, and that's one thing that I do love about my organization. That even though we come from different backgrounds, we have different careers, but we're always there to help one another. So even though we have doctors, we have nurse practitioners, we have of course I'm a pharmacy tech, so my thing was at first I felt as though that really nobody could help me advance in my field because no one just had the mentality that I had within my certain field of study. But they showed me that, there's more than one way to do anything, or it's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
So with the leadership skills, they have helped me of dealing with my president and my chapter, actually my past president and my present president, I'm sorry, at this time, they both have helped me because they're both our leaders as well, and they have become my role models. So it's to the point, I feel as though that, yes, I can improve in my field. And actually, I feel as though that motivated me to start looking in other positions within my career field. Not even trying to be funny when I say this, but if Trump taught me anything, he taught me that I can apply for a job that I'm not even qualified for at this point. Because him being the president, no, he has no background whatsoever. I'm like, now, if he can get in there, then surely I can be qualified to get any job that I feel as though that that I can get. So that's what they have done for me, dealing with my career field.
Okay, and I appreciate that. And yeah, he did nothing but hire damn people who knew nothing about the damn job they were being hired for. So, but that's another story for another day. Mr. Rock, for you, man, what's with the leadership skills that you have learned from the frat? How have you been able to convey that to your professional life?
And forgive me if you hear Keely and me in the background. My son is up and he's eating lunch, so his cartoon is on. So, let me first say what Kappa has taught me in my professional career is that excuses are bullshit. Like reasons for something not happening. That's different. If you got caught in traffic and you were late, or something devastating happened in your family and you couldn't make a deadline, that's something different. But excuses are bullshit. Like, and we all know that we've had people not only in our organization but in our professional and personal lives that have come up with excuses time after time after time.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the main reasons why I don't really associate myself with a political party, because we hear the excuses all the time. We were given promises during your campaign, but then when it came time to work, nothing happened that you talked about. You know what I mean? So in my professional life, how I've been able to apply that, I'm never late for anything. I pride myself on being on time or being early. If I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. It may take me some time to get it done. And one thing I'm good at is being accountable for myself and letting people who I'm working with be informed. Hey, I'm running a little behind on this project, but it's going to get done. Another thing that has taught me is teamwork. Sometimes your strongest person in your organization has that one Thursday that they're not that strong, and you need to step into that role and kind of like replace them at that point, or uplift them in that moment where, again, we're all human, so we're going to have moments of weakness. So there comes a time where you as a follower may now have to step into the role of a leader based on all the nuggets that the leader has given you during your time with them. You understand? So I think one of the things of being an effective leader is being an effective learner. If you haven't learned anything from your predecessors, from your mentors, people have taught you along the way, then you're not really doing a good job as a follower, and nor will you do a good job as a leader. Um, and the last thing I wanted to say was that I think somebody had addressed it earlier. Connie, what's up? I wanted to shout you out earlier. What's up, Connie P? Um, what I wanted to say was
Hey.
that what's good? You had said, brother Marlon, that you think that us as a people, we need to focus on one fight at a time to be successful. To a certain degree, I agree with you, but to a certain degree, I disagree because I feel that as people of color, when you getting jumped, sometimes you got to swing in all different directions, and I feel
Yes.
like
That's true.
I feel like sometimes when you getting jumped, you could concentrate on one person and beat the shit out that one person and
You
let
go.
and set an example
Yep.
to the other people jumping you, but they're not gonna stop jumping you.
Right.
So
not,
I
not,
think
not that
they're
we're
not.
advocating violence, ladies.
no, not at all, not at all.
Listen.
I'm just using that as an example.
Yeah,
as an
but, yeah,
example.
absolutely. And I should have
So-
elaborated more when I was speaking about that. But yeah, you're
And I apologize for not making that clear. I apologize. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, like, if you're getting jumped and you're getting attacked, not only from the front, but you're getting attacked from the side and from the back, sometimes you got to swing wildly to get yourself out of that, to get a clearer head to focus on now. Okay, I didn't clear the dust. Now let me focus on this dude. Let me focus on this problem. I don't think that we're necessarily going in a bad direction when we try to tackle multiple things at a time. I think that there's a degree of efficiency that comes with that, right?
absolutely.
There are certain topics and certain subject matters that we need to focus more on because they're of more importance.
Yep.
But it doesn't take away from our responsibility from tackling the other things. So
Absolutely.
in saying that,
You have to be able
yes,
to walk.
I
and chew
agree.
gum. Yep. You have to be able to walk and chew gum. You're absolutely right, bro.
I agree. If you got one opponent that you need to tackle and you need to take care of, okay, that's fine. But I think that us as a people, and I forgot who mentioned it. It might have been, I know it was one of the young ladies, but I don't remember who. And forgive me for saying that. But there's so many things within our internal community that we need to fix before we can start branching out to other things, that it's hard for us to just concentrate on one fight. That's just my opinion.
No, and you're right for pointing that out too, right? So obviously the fight, the direction of the fight or the intent of what you're fighting for obviously matters too, right? So unnecessary fights, right? Versus the ones that are more pressing. We have no quorum with each other. We shouldn't be fighting each other. There was no upside to that for any one of us. We need to be fighting together against the system and against the system alone. And anybody who's for that damn system that hasn't been working or hasn't even been in place to even for our benefit, then if you're not fighting against that, then you're fighting against us. That's simple. The simplest way to put that, because you're either for us or against us. You can't, there's no gray area here. There is no room for error. There's no room for the I don't knows any fucking more. It's not. There is no excuse for ignorance. Either you know, because I've always said this on my show, that ignorant means two things. It means to not know something at all, and it means to know and not give a damn. There are a lot of people, even in our own community too, that know but don't give a damn about knowing. See, and that's problematic. So when I speak about the very issues that we're talking about in terms of the fights, we have to be very cognizant of what we're fighting for and what that end goal looks like. Because if it's not gonna improve us, advance us as a culture, then there's no reason to be fighting that fight, right? So yeah, I do appreciate you for pointing that out. My next question, Kim, for you, I'm going to ask this question: what community service initiative resonates with you the most about your organization?
Well, there are so many that they do that I actually just becoming a part of. So that's kind of a hard one, Marvin, because I'm just signing up for some, and I'm doing more behind the scenes with my organization right now. So my organization chapter is relatively new. So there's some little kinks and things that we're working on to kind of to try to bring more members into that particular into that particular chapter. So I just like the things that they do inside the community, as far as during the time of registering to vote. We were assisting with registering people within the community to vote. So that was something that I was happily to be a part of. And during that time, it was that was most wanted. And that's what resonated with me during that particular time.
Okay. Yeah, and I appreciate that, because obviously we all know that each and every one of our individual organizations are a part of some initiative, right, when it comes to service in the community. But for us personally, we have like those one or two initiatives that really mean something the most to us, right? So I appreciate that. Ms. Oglesby, for you, what is one community service act or initiative that your organization participates in that resonates with you the most?
For me, will be our scholarship program.
Okay.
Mainly because that money can literally help a child's future, right? We've gone to college. Some of us have student loans, and then you graduate and you are held down by those scholarships. By those student loans. So it's hard for you to buy a house. It affects your credit. All of these different things, right? So you are literally setting someone up, hopefully, for success. So that one for me is the biggest one.
Okay. Yeah, I do appreciate that, because honestly, to even speak about student loans too. Elizabeth Warren has been advocating for canceling student loans, and I always told people this.
Me too.
If she cancels all of our student loans, they're gonna have to drag me out that altar, because Jesus himself gonna have to come get me and tell me I'm doing too much, because to even understand what it's like to have that be just sitting on your credit and then having to pay on it. You're asking me to pay back $100,000 damn dollars that I don't have at the very moment, right? I'm still working to fully establish myself and establish my household and be able to create generational wealth for my own family and and helping the community do the same thing. I can't do that when this is lingering over my damn head every day, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, I do appreciate you for speaking on that. Denise, for you, what community service initiative stands out about your organization with you personally?
Sigma Gamma Rho, we have a program called Project Cradle Care. And Project Cradle Care is a initiative that we have that also works with the March of Dimes. This is a program that works with young mothers that are still in childbearing age. And we help with programs as far as like prenatal, health programs, and, trying to change the outcomes for people who are high risk. Yeah. Okay. And it's something that I try to heavily be involved in, because as you can see in our community, we have a high rate of deaths, right at the beginning stages of life. Yeah. There's a reason why our community has stayed set at 13.5% for over, 20, 30 years, basically the whole time we've been living. Besides the crime and everything like that, but with the lack of healthcare in the urban areas, the lack of nutrition, understanding nutrition, the lack of being able to, do simple things like go take your kids to the dentist. Yeah. All those things are covered within this initiative. The March of Dimes, we help to raise money for that as well. I know everybody does St. Jude's,
Yep, absolutely.
Which is a great program. I'm banned from going to St. Jude's because I love the kids, so but that, along with Operation Book Bag, is another initiative we have. And Operation Book Bag also goes into the schools, and we bring into the urban communities or the communities that are, in the country, where there's not that many hospitals, there's not that many resources, and we bring what they need to them. There's some kids, they don't have any school supplies. That list of supplies that every kid gets at the beginning of the school year, that's very stressful for a lot of parents.
Absolutely.
Because they don't know how they're going to get these things.
Yeah.
You know, and what bothers me more than anything is us as Black people, we know what's needed in these schools.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not my kids.
That's the problem, man. It still takes a village.
Yeah, it takes
if
a
you don't
village.
understand
It
that,
does.
then yeah, again, we're doing a disservice. And
Yeah, I have 7 god kids, you know, and each one of them, well, they're all in private school because we made the effort to make sure that they get the best education they can get.
yeah,
But that's because, you know, me and my sorors, and along with all of you, we have the knowledge, we have the resources to be able to do so. But technically, no one should have to go to a private school if education was even across the board.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Education is supposed to be accessible to everybody, whether public or private, right? And we're
Absolutely.
adequate education too. And so
Absolutely.
kids should not be lacking for anything. And I used to be an educator in Memphis, so I know the ins and outs of what it takes for, or what teachers go through on an everyday basis. And I'm always advocating for teachers because I feel like teachers have been put in the position to part the Red Sea without a damn staff. And,
That's it.
and
That's it.
it's very much so unfortunate that teachers are asked to do so much, but the very parents aren't being looked at enough and being held accountable enough for what they're doing and not doing. But then, even to that point, if you don't have the access or the capabilities of getting everything you need for your child, you have to speak out. You have to speak up about that. We don't know what you don't know, right? So we don't know what you need either until you say something. And so
right,
I'm always sticking up for teachers because I know on an everyday basis what you go through, and with the budget cuts and them spending money out of their own pockets to buy school supplies for kids who are in need or less fortunate. I mean, and they do that out of the kindness of their hearts, and they get very little recognition, if any recognition at all, when it comes to that. And so here on this show, I'm here to give them their flowers. And I'll be speaking on education in a couple of months and talking to PWI faculty members as well as HBCU faculty members to compare and contrast the two, as well as talking to secondary and post-secondary educators as it pertains to just their level, the parents' level of involvement when it comes to PTA meetings too. So I do appreciate that initiative that you shared with us. Mr. Cook, for you, what initiative stands out for you for your organization? What personally impacts you in a personal way?
So when I joined IOTA, we had the knife. I can never say this right, and maybe that's why they changed it. Nafia Jima, which is, I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's Swahili for good health. Okay. And in that umbrella program, they had a lot of programs addressing the needs of health, whether it's physical, mental, and emotional health. So definitely, me being a clinical therapist, I work with people with emotional and mental health every day.
Yeah.
And that definitely still speaks to me.
Yeah.
In the regards of bettering our community, which is, if we feel better, if we think better, we can actually do better. A lot of resources have been pushed, and I'm not a lobbyist for mental health right now, but a lot of resources get pushed into education, whatever it is, and the thought process is like, okay, now do good, do better.
Yeah.
And that's not specifically the case when you for the Black community. We for lack of a better words at the time, for right now, we have to feel better, we have to do better, and we have to think better. And it's a warped perception of our way of thinking that is leading to some issues that we are now still facing. And now I feel like it's more prevalent in our face, even though we've been doing it for years. Yeah. So yeah, that's me.
But you know, even to the point, man, think about this from this perspective, right? So as Black men and women, every day that we wake up, it's almost exhausting to wake up being Black sometimes. As much as we love to celebrate our Black culture and we love our Black culture, to wake up every day knowing that the world looks at us in such a negative and just disrespectful way that we have to just wake up and say, okay, what the hell else happened today? What's next? On top of when I leave the house, when we all leave our house, it's just like, all right, the goal is to just get to where I'm going, get the hell out of there, and get back home safe, regardless. And to that,
And just that mindset tells you the trauma that we deal with every day.
we are a walking PTSD. We're
Mhm.
going through post-traumatic stress on an everyday basis, and it's just
Absolutely.
the exhaustion of it. It's just it's paramount to highlight and talk about and even have that conversation. And so, my very first episode of this podcast, I had my wife and her coworkers who are in the mental health field talking about this very thing. And I'll be circling back in a couple of months talking about mental health too, as it pertains to from the Black men's perspective, right? So I'll be talking to mental health experts and counselors who are Black men in this industry, because the bucket or the box, if you will, of Black people in mental health in the mental health field is very small, but it's even smaller to see Black men in it as well. So the representation that we oftentimes see, it's more Black women in education, it's more Black women in the mental health field than it is Black men. So that representation, from that perspective, that representation still matters. And so we have to unpack the very issues that we as everyday Black.
So I will never be without a job.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
You know, and I hope to have you on the show speaking on that very issue, because that is something that we have been highlighting in recent years. We've been highlighting being advocates for Black mental health is something that's been highlighted for the past few years, which is a good thing. But we want it to be a whole lifestyle and not just a trend, right? We don't want it to be just, okay, just for the summer, we're going to keep talking about mental health. And then once the fall hits, we're talking about something else. Mental health is ongoing. It's every day. Because every day as Black men and women, we're unpacking and having to deal with the world on top of dealing with everyday people at our jobs. We're being told to still maintain a certain level of professionalism while we're still going through this very shit that's out there in the world that still affects us. We're still impacted by the very things that can happen to either you, me, or anybody else out here. If you are Black and you don't look at these issues from a perspective of this can happen to me just like it can happen to you, then you're part of the damn problem. And that's a bigger problem to have to unpack and deal. So, yeah, I do appreciate you saying that. James, for you, what?
Well, can I interject 1 second, Marlon?
Yeah, go ahead.
To go back to the initiative that resonates with me by you all stating that one of the main things that targeted with us as well is economic legacy.
Yeah.
And under that umbrella with us is credit repair and also entrepreneurship.
Right.
And those things are relevant in our lives today. And that resonates with me because my family, like I have 4 children, and I want to leave my children with something. I don't want to leave them with a debt.
Absolutely.
First, my credit is good. My husband's credit is good. And we're actually, we have multiple businesses. And we're trying to leave something for our children. So we've started them young of learning how to operate a business, for one. So we're teaching them that so that when we pass away, it's passed on to them, so that they can pass it on to their kids and their grandkids and
add more to it. Yeah, man, add more to it.
So that's one thing that resonates with me within my sorority, one of the target areas that we that's within my sorority, because that's very, very important to the Black family and to Black people, period. We have to buy back our communities. We have to do that so that we can service our community, so that we can be stronger. So that's one of the ones that really resonated with me. I'm sorry, you kind of caught me off guard the first time. I have my son's in a track meet.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
Updates. My daughter is asking me.
There you go. We rooting for them too. So yeah, but to your point though, financial independency and economic empowerment is something that's very important in our community, especially given the fact that we oftentimes go broke trying to look rich, and that's a big ass problem. So, but that's something that we're gonna have to unpack, at a later date. So I actually have a Money Talks month where I'm talking to people who are in the financial industry to talk to the very issues that we need to be discussing more of, and being much more cognizant and mindful of what we need to be doing to further advance our financial independency. So I
Hey,
appreciate that. James, for you, what's a initiative that your a community service initiative that your organization does that resonates with you personally?
okay. Oh, I'm gonna answer that question here, but I got a couple of questions for Kim. Kim, question: what state do you live in?
Tennessee.
How unfortunate. But anyway,
he got jokes, man.
no, seriously. How many businesses and or companies do you and your husband run?
3.
3. Do you have a holding company?
No.
Why not?
Maybe we need to talk offline about that.
There you go. There you go. See,
Network.
reason why
We need to talk about that.
this is why we're talking about this, man.
So
paramount importance.
Look for me under Pootie Tang on Facebook, and you know, I ain't got no sense, Marlon. I don't know why you invited me, but
I'm glad.
Is that your real name on there for real?
No, my name is James Butts on Facebook. It's James Butts.
I'm starting to believe that his last name is actually what he acts like. You know, I have to. But it's funny.
No, I'll be in your inbox related.
Yeah, please do. I
appreciate that.
Now, as a moment of, first of all, transparency here, Marlon, I'm probably the only one on this post, on this panel that has not graduated from college.
Okay.
I'm 9 credits short, as a matter of fact. Matter of fact, I dropped out in 2008 when my uncle died, and I never went back. And right after that, because
richer than all of us.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I appreciate that. But so I started my company a year later.
Yeah.
My major was actually information systems, and I thought I was going to be this great computer guru, the best it ever was. And Bank of America let me know twice that no, you weren't going to be. Yeah. So I ended up starting my own company, which I own a call center, a virtual call center. All of my agents work from home, but I have about 612 agents. And then my wife and I started some other companies after that. And that's why I was asking you, Kim, about the holding company.
Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely be in your inbox after this asking you about it.
Yeah. It's about networking.
Yeah. So, but a community project that we have, or a community-based project, is the Sigma Beta Club for me. When I was in Charlotte, where I was made, I was the Sigma Beta advisor. Yeah. Because right now we live in Texas, and my wife is actually military, and I'm a military veteran myself. But we move around a lot, so that's one of the number one things that resonates with me, because I'm always open and love working with children, because adults are hard-headed. But
very much so, and some of them too damn stuck in their ways, man.
I tell you, them daggone noobs, I tell you. But
here we go. Well, listen, I love things in life. You can tell us something. You can tell us a few things, but you can't tell us much, man.
Right. I'm still working with my father, who's a noob. He still won't learn.
And I'm pretty sure he always sees you with that Sigma shirt on, and be like, you know what, my condolences. You know, everyone makes bad decisions in life. You know, it's unfortunate that you made the one that you made, but it's okay.
Oh, he's still mad since 1998, still. But he's still mad. He'll be all right though. But that's the one that resonates with me. And another is always our partnership with the Cancer Society.
Yeah.
So, but the number one is Sigma Beta Club. I still sometimes feel like I failed a few Sigma Betas, because back then we had a couple go to jail. Oh. But and for long periods of time. But it was just one of those situations where they just made a bad decision.
Yeah. You know what, to that point, man, I do. First and foremost, I do want to say that I appreciate your service to our country too, for being in the military, both you and your wife, right? And my uncle, who recently passed away, he was a 30-year veteran. He was also a 30-year retired lieutenant for the Chicago Fire Department. Mm-hmm. And he used to oftentimes tell me that when it comes to doing things for the community, especially, and even for your own friends and family, you do what you can while you can for as long as you can. Yeah. And the fact that you're as far as Sigma Beta, to my knowledge, you guys are getting to those young men early in life, so that they don't make the wrong decision going down the wrong path later
Yeah.
in life. And so I do appreciate you saying that, because again, we have to get them early, and as early as we get them as possible, it's going to make the much more of a difference in their lives. Because when you get to them when they're teenagers, now I've always said this, teenagers know every damn thing about nothing, right? So they are the dumbest human beings in the world when you think about it, because they feel like they know everything. And it's not to insult them, but it's always in a sense of talking about how they can't be talked to. They can't be reasoned with. And sometimes for some of them, it is too late, depending on how deep in the situation that they are currently in. And so getting to them early as possible is something that is very much so a paramount of importance. And we have to be more focused on starting them off when they start walking and start talking and start understanding and listening, helping them understand the very things to do and not do. And so I do appreciate your initiative in Sigma Beta and mentoring them. That we need more of us to do that as Black men. We have to take back our communities and mentor them more.
Right. What does it say in the word? Raise them up as is the way they should go.
Absolutely.
And I think that no disrespect to anybody on the panel, but I mean, I would be lying if I didn't hear or listen to what appears to be the cynicism that seems to permeate throughout our community.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that stops us from growing. Is cynicism. And we have to eliminate that.
Yeah.
We must, and I implore you all, and I used to have it too, I'm not gonna lie. I used to have it too. I hope that I don't know if I'm the oldest on the panel. I'm 51, but I hope that you all can get rid of that as soon as possible, because the longer you hold on to it, the longer everyone else around you holds on to it too, that you have an influence over.
Yep, absolutely.
Because they'll hear it come from you. Because change only happens when it starts with us. And I think this is a great podcast for real, Marlon. I thank you for inviting me. And I don't ever say things just to be blowing smoke. If your joint was trash, I would tell you offline, of course.
Now, I do appreciate that, man, because the whole purpose of me starting this podcast is to not only bring awareness and start the conversation, but I want people who are listening in and who follow the show to take the information that they learn from this and apply it to their own local communities, their own inner circle of friends and family, and really help them understand that we each have a part to play in this when it comes to the advancement of our culture and our community. And if we're not doing our parts, then we're doing a disservice to ourselves and to our own friends and family. We can't just be so gun-ho to just me and mine or you and yours. It's about all of us, and no one person, no organization can do every damn thing. So, and I always said this, that I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to talk to the very people who are in these positions, in these professions, in these organizations, who can speak to the very issues that we can obviously unfold and unpack, and come to some sort of foundational resolution to where we can all each contribute to our community in that sense. So,
well, I'm not like you. I got all the answers. I don't care what you're talking about. I got all the answers.
Sure. Of course you do, because you didn't listen to nothing your dad said clearly. But mistakes. But
all jokes aside, because I believe in sharing information. So in this environment, or this time that we're in right now, especially when filing taxes, by a show of hands, who all does their own taxes?
Just started doing my own taxes a couple years ago. Yeah,
I did up until this year.
Why you stopped?
It got real complicated this year, so I had to get someone else to do it.
Define complicated.
Well, because I made actually more money than I made before, so it got a little complicated. So I had to get someone else to take a look at to ensure that I'm doing it right. But I'm just gonna let them do it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to take that offline.
Yeah. And again, I'll have an episode to talk about real estate, talking about tax credits, and talking about just overall credit scores and things like that too. The whole financial independency.
I want everyone to literally, this isn't my book. This is just something, one of the people that I learned from, a guy that I found about 10 years ago.
Okay. Free advertisement. All right.
I don't care about free. I want people to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've purchased a lot of IRS books, tax books. This one right here is one of the best Bibles you can have on the IRS.
Yeah.
This one right here. So if you get a chance to get that, no free advertising, because I don't even know the cat. I just happen to find them on the internet.
Yeah.
So that is that book relevant to all the changes that have been made? Oh,
It's relevant to any type of correspondence that you get from the IRS should you quote unquote get in trouble.
Okay.
People have
JB,
to.
can you type that in the group chat so we have it like in text so we can research and
Yeah,
order it?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you
Did
put that in the
he
chat?
did he just call me by like my initials? Is that what he just did? She
I
said
sure
JB,
did.
didn't he?
I'm that cool, man. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And
I'm
let me
that cool,
yeah,
bro.
let me put that in
Yeah,
chat. Let me,
definitely send me that
Appreciate
information.
you.
I'll make sure I put that in the description of this episode. That way people can obviously get to that much easier too. So yeah, just wrapping up because I want to make sure I'm again sensitive on time. My last
Yes.
question, and I'll start just real quick. I want everybody to give me their answers on this too. So last question is, I'll start with you, Noel. What can we do more together as a Divine Nine? Now, obviously, a few of my Divine Nine members couldn't make the call. They were having technical difficulties. They was like texting me in between the show. So I was just, obviously just rolling with the flow of everything and everybody that was speaking out. So, and I do appreciate you all for still being able to, be flexible enough to just either speak at a turn or whether I was going in alphabetical order or not. Start with you, Noel. What can we do more as a Divine Nine collectively? What can we do more together? We know what our organizations do individually because we're all different branches on the same tree, right? So what can we do more together?
I think what we need to do more together is three things: acknowledge, accept, and move forward. And I'll explain what I mean by that.
Right, real quick.
Acknowledge the fact that everybody that shares our letters does not share our ambition. So just because we have the same letters on does not mean we have the same drive to do the same things, right? So you can't look at a dude that crossed in 2021 and think that he's going to be about the forward advancement of Black people, right? He may be about showing at a party, and that's his thing. All right, let him have that. But we have to accept that, and we have to move on. We have to say, look, we have to focus on the people that are ready to forward the advancements of our people.
Yep.
Hone in on their talents. What are their talents? If their talents is financial, if their talents is networking, if their talents are whatever it is, hone in on that, and we come together like Voltron. Stop the petty bullshit as far as like saying, oh, you a Q, you don't do this, you don't do. Who gives a shit? My older brother is an Omega, and I'm the first Greek in the family, but we work together on different things. Like some of my best friends are not even in my organization, so
Mine too.
I don't care about that. I look more about what we can do as a people because we were Black before we were Greek. You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, we need to focus on what our talents are, what we can bring to the actual movement, and actually focusing on those things and actually move forward with them. That's my answer.
Absolutely appreciate that, man. Kim, real quick for you, what can we do more together as a Divine?
I agree with Noel, but I think having conversations like this, and I think you're doing a great job is trying to move us together by having this platform. So I think more things of this nature will help us to move, come together and move forward together. But pretty much I second what Noel said. I agree with everything he stated as far as moving us all together.
All right, I appreciate that. James, for you, real quick, what can we do more together as a Divine Nine?
As a Divine Nine, I think that quit with the separation. Not just based on what Noel said. Quit with the separation. I mean, it's okay to to do the every now and again jabs. Like the iota still waiting for their centennial from forever. Pasquale not even laughing. Like I'm not paying attention to this dude.
Oh,
but we have to.
He wanted to say something.
Pascal like whatever, man. But no, I think that more ability to communicate with each other effectively, and find a unifying message. And it obviously starts with the national pan.
Yep.
Showing up at a community rally in our colors, arm in arm, if necessary, if that visual needs to happen.
Yep.
To say, hey, we're here to, be a voice for the people in a massive way. Yeah. Because we have key people in positions, judges, lawyers, police chiefs, VP, other congressmen, state senators.
Yep.
People don't realize who their state senators are, and they worry about the U.S. senator.
Yep. That's
And
very true.
the state senator has more power than the U.S. senator in your state.
Yep.
Governors, local mayors, we have local people, and people are so bent on tearing each other down. If we could stop doing that in 2021, we should still not be saying, "Oh, you sound like you white. You sound like you're trying to be white."
Yeah.
We should still not be doing it, which is what Lolita talked about earlier. We
Yep.
should still not be doing that.
Yep. Absolutely.
And so to me, that's what we need to do. Quit tearing people down, quit tearing each other down, stop with the colorism, and find ways to unite.
Yep.
We spend more time separation instead of figure out how we can work together.
I
don't like the way my Soror Carell look. So
we crabs in a bucket.
Right.
And that's been problematic for far too long.
She lighter than me. She got more opportunities because she light skinned. And Lolita and Kimberly, we dark skinned, so we don't have any opportunity. What? How do we work together?
Fixated on stupid shit. We need to stop that.
Yeah.
So and I appreciate that too, James. Ms. Oglesby, for you, what can we do more together?
Being active. We talk about, oh, I'm in a Divine Nine, I'm in this organization, but what have you done?
Absolutely.
If you're not being active, then what's the point? Are you paying for friends? Are you actually paying to do the work? Yeah. So, and I think that's across any organization that you were in, church, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Are you being active? And then what are you doing? That's it for me. You got to be active. It's no point in you being in an organization. It's no point in you doing whatever if you're not doing anything. And at this day and age, especially what has happened within the past, I would say 10 years, we know that we have got to do something. Like I said, you start small, you work your way big. I got 2 kids. My son is in the Sigma Beta Club. He's in Knights of Prince Hall. We have to get them active early. And today he had meetings all day long. I don't want to do it. I don't care. Because had it been a football game that so-and-so or little so-and-so had to be at, you would have made sure the little so-and-so, and I'm not knocking sports because our kids are in sports too. But you have to have that same type of drive, that same type of commitment to your organizations, to your community that you do to Little Junior's football team, because you think one day he'll make it big in the NFL. Now we've got to have that same drive, I want to see that same passion for what you do. Now that you have paid for your Divine Nine, you can wear your shirt. Where you at? It's time to sweep up, sister so-and-so's, whatever, we've got to be active.
Yeah, we definitely, very much so, especially in our community that we obviously come from. So if you're not servicing your own community, then you're doing a disservice to yourself and to them too. Ms. Dawes, real quick, what can we do more together?
Well, everybody's pretty much said everything I was going to say. But one thing that I want to bring up that bothers me, I went to a PWI, okay? And for reasons, that's where I ended up going. I went where the money was, okay? And the one thing that bothers me about MPHC, we, Black folks, we find anything to divide ourselves on and to try to put a tier to make us better. Like, this group over here is going to be better than this group because of whatever school they went to. When I crossed at MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University, I was proud to have my letters. I did what I had to do. I was a solo. I crossed in the summertime. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do my thing, But there were actually sorors and people from other organizations when we were toured to go to different schools that had a problem because I went to a PWI. So I'm not a real Greek.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it doesn't matter. We're all supposed to be doing the same thing, and that's uplifting the community. And we're so worried about, well, you can't be a Delta because you're not this, or you can't be an AKA because you're not light skinned enough. Why? Why is that even an issue?
Yep.
We're all supposed to go to school. If that's what you're going to do, it's fine to join your organizations. But at the end of the day, even if you don't, you're still supposed to take the education you get from that institution and apply it to yourself and then apply it to others.
Absolutely.
You're supposed to still get in the community and uplift your community, whether you have the letters or not.
Yep.
And the other part that bothers me about the whole MPHC, nobody is, and I'm not going to say nobody, but like the young lady said, within the last 10 years, I've seen Greek life shift so much that I honestly don't recognize it anymore. I came in 2002, which wasn't that long ago, but I might be considered old head, I don't know. But the effort's not there. These kids are coming in and they base everything off of the stereotype of each organization.
Yep.
And they run with that. And they feel like that they are entitled.
Yeah.
These are privileged organizations that were founded by African Americans of prestige.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I respect every organization. I don't care what colors you have on.
Absolutely.
We're still Black men, we're still Black women, and we're all supposed to be doing the same thing. And the bickering that goes on, the disrespect of the organizations, to be a Sigma Gamma Rho, you have to have a thick skin. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah.
And I have that thick skin, and I say what I have to say. I'm sorry. Did somebody say something?
Mr. Cook.
Oh, okay. But you have to have a thick skin.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like that, because at the end of the day, we're still women, still men out here in the same communities that most of us all came from, trying to make it better. But we have to find that, for some reason, and I don't know why the Black community is like that, we have to find that distinction of being able to say, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. No matter what it is.
We have to deprogram ourselves, because we've been fed a lot of bullshit misconceptions about the Black community from TV, media, and all this other shit that has been saying Black people are like this. And then people have fed into that very propaganda that has been a negative image and a negative light being shed on us from time and time again. So yeah, I do agree with you to that point.
But that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are not active.
Yep.
That's why some people get their letters and they run with them, because once they get into the cesspool of what is called Greek life, and you all know what I'm talking about,
they get discouraged. Yep.
They get discouraged, and it's too much foolishness. And who wants to put up with that?
Yeah.
I'm not going to continue to give my money to something like this when these people are over here acting the fool just because they have letters on their back.
Absolutely. And you know what? To that point, I want to make sure I'm clear about this too, because part of me even starting off with each month with different topics, starting this topic off this month specifically, was because I felt like a lot of times non-Greeks look at us as Black elites. They think that we think we're better than everybody else.
Absolutely.
And that misconception, although some of it's warranted by some of the individual members of our organizations, they still don't speak for the entire organization itself, right? So we obviously have a huge responsibility that's put on us to be basically a great representation of our organization on an everyday basis, as well as being great representations of Black men and women, because of the negative stereotypes and bullshit that's being portrayed out there and being perpetuated on an everyday basis in so many different media outlets and TV shows and whatever. They're showing us in the most negative connotative images that it's making our jobs even harder to have to deprogram these people and say, hey, this is not every Black person. I'm not that damn person. I'm not this person. I'm me, but I also speak for my organization and for my culture as a Black man or as a Black woman. And so, yeah, it does make it hard for all of us to be positive representatives when we have so many negative images being portrayed on an everyday basis. So I appreciate that. Pasquale, for you, what more can the Divine Nine do together?
I want to piggyback on what Ms. Dawson was saying about having thick skin. first of all, to be a member of Iota Phi Theta, you have to have a level of I don't give a fuck.
There you go.
So, the differences in, letters and colors definitely should be, diminished and looked at. So yeah, everybody said basically what I wanted to say anyway, but that to your point, Ms. Dawes, that is definitely true. It is very ridiculous when you go into spaces. Because I was the first Iota at Rust, and it's definitely a conversation about respect.
Yep.
And coming from a place, I guess it really doesn't matter because Iotas don't care. But I mean, it's just more so it will be better from the outside looking to be shared throughout, which is definitely a great start. So yeah, that's all. But everybody else said everything I wanted to say anyway.
Yeah, tearing down all the negative stereotypes and pretty much putting a stop to all tearing down. That's something that we have to do a hell of a lot more of in today's society. So I appreciate each and every one of you all for shedding light and perspectives on that. And before we wrap up, I want to just say again, thank you all so much for being on this show to talk about these different things and share your perspectives and insight on, the very issues that we are faced with on an everyday basis as Black men and women, what our obligations are and what they should be in terms of service in our Black communities from which we come, and being able to do more together, right? So that's been the premise of this entire conversation for this episode. And I appreciate each and every one of you all for shedding light on that from your perspective. Make sure you all get your frat brothers and your sorority sisters to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Definitely give me some feedback on what you like and don't like about the podcast too, because as I'm moving along with it, I'm improving more and more with it. I'm adding more content, information. I'm interviewing. I'm reaching out to people who are in these different professions and different organizations who can speak to the very different things that we need to be talking more about, creating more content and providing more information to our Black community so we can each do our part in servicing our Black community a hell of a lot better than what we've been doing. And so for that, I really appreciate you all. Hope you guys are staying safe and staying sanitized. We seem to almost be at that end point, or close to it, rather, when it comes to this pandemic. So I hope to get to see you all physically sometime in the near future, hopefully before this damn year is out, because I'm ready to travel. Lord knows I need a damn vacation more than I ever needed more in my life. So again, thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe to Speak to the Mic podcast. You can find me on Instagram, Speak to the Mic _podcast show. Find me on my Facebook page, Speak to the Mic podcast show, as well as YouTube and Spotify. Definitely let me know what you guys think about previous episodes as well as the future ones as they come. And we'll definitely be having this conversation again, man, because I think this is a good start for us. But I definitely want to, other organizations to chime in and continue on with this educational moment that we're having to best help our communities the best way we can. And so, again, y'all, much appreciation to you all. Hope you all are safe and sanitized. And we'll be talking again.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having
Thank you.
Now turn the recording off so we can act a fool.
All right. All right.
Just because everybody don't need to hear this part. They don't need to hear the after party after the party. They don't need to hear this part.
If you like what you've heard from this week's episode and would like to hear more from previous episodes, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel below. You can also find me on social media platforms at Speak to the Mic _podcast show on Instagram and Speak to the Mic podcast show on Facebook. Be sure to also like, share, and subscribe to my Spotify page at Speak to the Mic podcast show. As I put out more thought-provoking content, your opinion and thoughts are needed and appreciated. I thank you all in advance for your support and look forward to hearing from you soon.